AskReddit by 2 minutes toss and down. High school teachers of Reddit, what is the one thing that you want your students to know that you'd never tell them in person? Your parents are literally the worst part of my job. 9/10 times when you have a student acting different and you meet their parents for the first time, it explains a lot. Often everything. Yes, I put you in a group with the kid you have a crush on intentionally. I'm stuck here with you 180 days a year. I want to see some drama. Edit. I think this is my most upvoted comment. Glad my matchmaking could make some folks smile. Also, thanks for my first gold. Edit part 2, Silver 2? No paparazzi, please. But seriously, thanks. My food and nutrition teacher started off the semester telling us not to question her seating grouping decisions because at that time she had 5 known adult couples that got married specifically because they met in her class. She showed us pictures of her at their wedding. As far as I know, she had a 0% divorce rate with half of the couples being together at least 20 years. I think what you learn in the other classes is mostly useless rubbish. The things you are supposed to do to learn it is boring and ineffective, and the way our schools are organized is archaic and not fit for humans, much less kids. Stop wearing your furry tail. Everyone is uncomfortable. Wait, what? Yes, we have a new seating chart, and yes, I sat you next to her because I can tell you have a crush on her. I noticed you try harder on your work when she is around, and to be honest, you two would make a cute couple. You know that's kind of cute. I am no longer a teacher, but I remember several days that I felt lazy and wanted to give the class a day off. I never did because I knew the teacher's pet would rat me out. Sometimes even the teachers don't like the teacher's pet. Oh okay, I first thought every teacher in your country had an actual pet, but I eventually figured out you probably were speaking of choulicadoud as we call them in French. I'd let you get away with so much more if you were actually a decent person who treated others with kindness and respect. Assholes rarely get the benefit of doubt or indifference. Absolutely this. Kids would be surprised by how much freedom they could get if they all tried to be nice to each other. If you're nice to me and aren't disruptive, I'll always work the numbers in your favor when it comes time to post grades. I teach middle school in Taiwan. My students are 60% ESL, 30% intermediate English proficiency, and 10% native fluency. Only have 42 students, so this number is pretty on the money. I want to tell them this. I'm not an idiot. When you are ridiculing me in Chinese, I've picked up phrases and know which ones you're using. Don't act surprised when I give you detention for calling me Bendon, Dumbus, or Beiji, idiot. I know what you're saying, ugh. Bendon. Oh, I second TF out of this. I teach in Cambodia. They think I don't know what they're saying when they talk shit to me and Khmer, even though I know exactly what they just said. Trying hard is necessary but not sufficient for most accomplishments. Intelligence is necessary but not sufficient for most accomplishments. I can't tell the sweet, hardworking but unintelligent kid he won't be a doctor. I can't tell the smart but lazy asshole he won't be a doctor. Both end up in my remedial class and blame being in remedial class on mean teachers labeling them. I appreciate childhood as the time for dreams, but it means people make terrible decisions when they don't understand that we just put them at the highest level we think they can pass. We don't know why they are years behind their peers, just that they are. I try to see potential and inspire kids to try their best, I really do. But there's not a lot I can do if someone is dedicated to hiding their low intelligence by trying to appear as a lazy asshole instead, or trying to hide their higher intelligence by pretending to be unintelligent to get easier work. You can be unsuccessful at school but successful in life. I pretend that it is important for you to do well in my subject, but in reality you'll most probably find your niche in life and be reasonably content or hopefully extremely happy. You might hate maths, English, science, but turn out to be the most amazing parent, artist, carpenter, or even a mathematician, playwright or researcher. You might get the lowest scores in class and end up being the most successful of your peers. I feign annoyance, anger, disappointment. I reluctantly phone your parents, give you detentions, or write up critical reports. I have to. It's my job. If you do well in my subject, then that's great, but if you don't, then just relax. We can't all be good at everything. And X200B. Oh, and do you think you hate exams, tests and homework? Your mild dislike of the work is a mere candle flame compared to the hatred that burns like a million suns that I feel when I have to fucking mark it. Yelling fuck in the hallways doesn't make you a badass. Teachers are yelling fuck in their heads all day long. I can see who you have a crush on in the classroom. My philosophy teacher straight up told me, stop flirting with, you're here to work. Wasn't taking any bullshit that day. The weed smell doesn't magically disappear between the parking lot and my classroom. How do I smell, bro? You're good. Me? You're good too. We can smell the weed. Seriously, at least wait until after school. It's called high school for a reason, right? Look, obviously I am on Reddit all day too, or I wouldn't be posting here, but for the love of God, can you please pretend to be working so I can go back to being disappointed by reposts? If your parents email a teacher and argue with them, the whole staff knows, at least at my school. Yes, and when there is a parent who is particularly awful to a teacher, that teacher will warn all of the kids' future teachers before they even sit in their assigned seat on the first day of school. I just wanna say that I love all of you wonderful, underappreciated and underpaid teachers. Teachers got me through some of the worst times of my childhood and adolescence. Except for you, Mrs. Hanson. Fuck you. Edit. It's been almost a month and I still appreciate people using this comment as a place to go off on the shitty teachers they've had. Teachers are amazing. Keep shitting on the ones who don't deserve to be grouped in with the awesome majority. That we have much better hearing than you assume. We just choose our battles as it pertains to inappropriate comments. And sometimes I pretend not to see that thing you did just because I too found it humorous, and speaking to you about it would only result in me cracking up. Edit. Well, this really blew up. I am barely seeing people's reactions to it. I appreciate all the responses. A lot of great comments. And I can definitely share stories for those interested. Haha. It's so funny when they think they are getting away with something, but no, it's just near the end of the day and you're too tired to deal with it. If I know your name by the third day of a new school year, that means you're probably an asshole. Or, you have a really weird name. When you think you are being genius by getting me to talk about random things at the beginning of class instead of teaching, I'm really allowing it to happen. BC, I don't have enough planned to cover a full class. My favorite high school teacher, he taught history, confessed on the last day of my senior year that he always started class by talking about something completely random because he knew none of us were ready to pay attention right when class was supposed to start. Had no idea. It was a really good strategy that made the transition into the lesson a lot less jarring. I'm a bus driver. Sit the fuck down, you will die if I crash. Understood. Stands up. You don't need anything I teach you to be successful in life. Math is about learning to think, not graphing functions and solving equations. Below. People assuming I don't know where the math I teach is used. I promise I do. The point I'm making is that we don't care if the general population can solve polynomial equations, we care that they learn to think. My math teacher put it this way: I know you aren't going to use most of this. But do you think football players go out on the field and start deadlifting? When was the last time you saw a wrestler lay down and bench press on the mat? Your brain needs exercise too. Except in way better words, lol. I can definitely hear the horrible things you are saying. Yes, I see that you are on the other side of the room. I may be old to you, but I am certainly not deaf. Also, that teenage boy is definitely going to buy you a Big Mac in exchange for oral sex 100 out 100 times. I need the story on that second one. You are right. The administration is completely out of touch when it comes to technology. I also work better while listening to music on my phone. So long as my kids have earphones and the volume is not able to be heard by those sitting around them, I encourage them to listen to music while working. That my students are the reason why I am second guessing having my own kids. My students are the reason I don't have kids. Please stop dueling in the classrooms, that's what the bathrooms are for. Recently my school put detectors in the restrooms, but some kid in one of my classes still needed his nicotine fix, so he ripped a fat one with his face in his backpack and said the smoke was his laptop malfunctioning. That it's just as weird for me as it is for you when we bump into each other in public. Edit. Instead of responding to all, I'll tell my story here. I went on vacation with my then GF, and bumped into a student 3 states over. We both kind of shook our heads no at each other, and kept walking, silently agreeing to not address it. I saw this same student again 2 months later, during the summer, at a concert where they were underage drinking. We just shook our heads at one another again, keeping that same silent agreement. I saw this same student 4 more times during the summer entirely by accident. It was never discussed. I saw my English teacher at the grocery store one. We made eye contact and I nodded. He nodded back. We kept walking. Said nothing about it the next day. Never brought it up. That's proper procedure. Right now my students are up in our mobile. Class was supposed to start at noon. My co-teachers and I are down in the classroom. They're thinking if no one goes down there to get them, we won't have to do any work. We're thinking let's see if anyone comes down here to grab us. Social experiment. If not, we don't have to do anything. The events that happened when the day should have been a snow day. If I didn't think you would abuse the situation, I would really enjoy being more human and casual around you. I think you are a fun person to be around. This one hits home. I was close with a couple teachers through high school, and would even put in extra effort in those classes. But when the teacher would get to a comfortable level around us, it was easy to forget that they got there because of the effort I put in, and it isn't an excuse to stop trying cause they like you. You're unique, you're not special. Set your goals high, but understand that if you change your goals to needs, you will have a lifetime of disappointment. Damn, I feel like this is advice we could all use. I would honestly tell my little kindergartners that life is tough. I love you. Many of you can't count on your parents at all. You're poor and have to work harder. I need you to understand how important your education is for having a better life. But I'm a male teacher in early childhood. Distance is very important, and can't afford to have a parent go all mama bear on me. So I just do my best to make them feel valued in my class. The odds of you using any specific piece of knowledge you learn in high school is slim. The odds of you using some piece of knowledge from high school is near absolute, and you have no idea what it's going to be or when it will happen, so you may as well try out all of it. The biggest thing you're going to learn is how to learn. I'm going to print this out and hang it in my classroom. HS band director here. I know you didn't touch your horn over the weekend. If you did, you wouldn't sound like rotten cat arsehole. The reason you ride on boy buses and girl buses is because I don't want band parents in my band. I was in high school before you and I know exactly what happens on bus rides. In my 11-year career, the only names that I truly remember are the insanely talented kids and the students who were completely inept. Lastly, this job is so intensely stressful I think I might be taking years off my life. But if I loosen up my standards your band experience will be unmemorable. Former marching band member here. Can confirm, if you're on the band bus and you have a blanket, you also have a dick in your hand. Your sense of entitlement is most likely acquired from your upbringing, so parent-teacher conferences to discuss your grades and going to do shit when the parents just blame us, despite you putting in little to zero effort. My gamer tag. I usually say there's a policy against it but there isn't. I just don't wanna play Overwatch or whatever with a bunch of relatively good kids who turn into total monsters when they play video games. If I tell the cool ones, it'll get around. Don't do it. It's like when a kid finds out a teacher's cell phone number somehow. Then the whole school calls. Deleted. I love these posts because the comments are generally well formatted. Thanks, teachers. With proper grammar and everything. I don't care that you came to class stoned. Just stop interrupting class, and for God's sake, don't touch any power tools while you're stoned. I knew a guy that would come into first period stoned. He would always complete his work extremely fast, and accurately too. Then he would just stare at his paper or whatever when he's done. Basically a genius when stoned. Edit. I was not anybody's teacher. You are not going to be YouTube famous, sit the fuck down and listen. A lot of us probably drink, smoke, sleep around, etc. more than you do, and hearing you talking about it and trying to hide it as if it's something we wouldn't know about is richly ironic. Or worse, boast about it like it's something we would never understand. If you are stupid enough to have filmed yourself doing something that can get you in trouble, especially legal trouble, for the love of God don't post it online. Edit. I am not telling them this because plenty of them would see it as me approving of them misbehaving as long as they don't get caught. I hate the texts as much as you do, but everyone just shrugs when I suggest changing them up. I'm sorry they made us keep that awful afterbook on the list. I genuinely offered to buy them all back from students so I could burn the waste of time that they are. I had an eccentric literature teacher in high school, Dr. Patik, who was required to teach the Odyssey. He absolutely hated it. So much so, he taught us off of the Cliff Notes. He explained how he was teaching it to us under protest, in his very thick Polish accent. Just another example. He organized the class into rows, then gave each person a rank. The first in the row was the captain, and so on. You got promoted or demoted for getting answers right, but also for completely arbitrary reasons. Deleted. You can't bullshit a bullshitter. I can tell 95% of what you're saying is a lie, so stop. One day you're going to come across people who are not being paid to tolerate you, and all of a sudden life is going to become considerably more difficult. I feel like they should be told this in person. One of the most valuable lessons I can teach you is to fake looking busy. If we're supposed to be working on an assignment or reading or whatever, and you see me coming your way, at the least have a piece of paper on your desk and a pen in your hand and some shit on your paper, and then I won't bother you. If you have nothing going on and can't even be bothered to make it look like you're trying, I'm heading your way. This lesson will be invaluable with eventual bosses someday. My welding teacher told me something similar about when he was on job sites. If the boss hasn't told you to do anything, then get the biggest wrench you can find and walk around looking worried. The longest he's ever done that for was an hour and a half. Yes, I do have favorite students. No, I won't tell you who they are because that would discourage you, but yes, they are probably who you imagine them to be. I hope your students never find out your username. I don't know if there's an exact quote I'd use, but I wish I could let my students know how dumb they look sometimes. And how they need to relax and stop taking themselves so seriously. I also frequently find myself wishing I could rag on kids' clothes hairstyles that they've obviously put way too much time money into, but these thoughts only cross my mind when they are being assholes. That's the unprofessional petty stuff I'd say. I could think of something much more wise, but it's my lunch break and Friday and my brain is fried from trying to keep these assholes together a week before finals. I learned recently that the teenage brain causes them to believe they are always being watched and judged. This is why their appearance is so important to them. Here's a good article too. Hands. Edit. I'm not saying that people aren't judged or made fun. I encourage my worst kids as much or more than my favorites because I don't want them back in my class next year. I wonder if that's one of the reasons some of those ever pass the grade. Welp, they're not my problem now.